From Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. Sports Bash is also presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Sports Bash is brought to you by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash, get a free dessert with your meal. By Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles in Rockville Center, Long Island's go-to store for sports, entertainment, and political memorabilia since 1996. They are also available for charity auctions. Mention Sports Bash when you come in. Get a free autographed 8x10 photo. Give Warren a call at 516-826-4000. Stay tuned later in the show. We'll find out about the Living Legends item of the week. By Bearcat Billing Service, your trusted partner in medical billing. Experience the Bearcat way, personal, professional, and tailored to your needs. Give Gary a call at 516-796-2400 and tell him Sports Bash sent you. By the Marty Lyons Foundation, the official charity of Sports Bash Media. For more information, go to martylyonsfoundation.org. And by Collaborate Studios, a content marketing production facility. For more info, call them at 516-509-8277. Well, hi again, everyone, and happy holidays to everybody, no matter what holiday you are celebrating this week and spending time with the family. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome to a special Friday edition of Sports Bash. 516-465-3990 is the number to call. Make sure you are subscribing to and following Govs Comedy Club podcasts on Sports Bash and Sports Bash Media on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X. You'll notice that we did not have our regular theme music to start the show. All Billy Joel music on the show today. And I'm doing it for a lot of selfish reasons. First, because I love Billy Joel. Second, my family and I are going to the Billy Joel concert at UBS Arena on New Year's Eve. That's another one. And then later in the show, we're going to have a member of Billy Joel's band on the program, Carl Fischer, who plays the trumpet and has a great solo career. He's doing a solo show in Brooklyn at Lundy's Brothers on Saturday night. So you want to check that out tomorrow. So we're going to have him on the show a little bit later on. We're going to be joined by legendary Giants quarterback Phil Simms later on the program. And that's going to be a great listen. He's got some great thoughts on the Jets and the Giants this past season. It's been a miserable football season, but it's always great to catch up with Phil, and we'll talk to him about football and the rest of the NFL. I hope everybody got what they wanted from Santa or Hanukkah Harry, depending on whatever your holiday was. I'm wearing one of my nice Hanukkah gifts, so I'm happy about that. I did good. The kids did great. My wife did great. So we had a nice, first night of Hanukkah on Wednesday. It's not all the time that Hanukkah and Christmas fall out at the same time. So it was interesting that Christmas night was also the first night of Hanukkah. So we had a great time at home and lots of good gifts and 8 crazy nights, Tony. That's it's good.
It's a lot of nights.
It's a lot of nights. It's a lot of gifts. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But we get through it. It's a happy occasion every single year. And a happy Hanukkah again. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. News today: Gleyber Torres officially now an ex-Yankee, signed with the Tigers. So, and I posted this on X earlier today. Look, he had his adventures in the field and running the bases, but Gleyber Torres was a good Yankee. He had a lot of big hits. He had a great ALCS this year. Always seemed to come through in the postseason. So good luck to Gleyber in Detroit, except when the Tigers are playing the Yankees. Yankees and Mets continue to try and put together their roster for 2025. It's been quiet the last couple of days for both of them, so we'll see if they both continue to make moves. Pete Alonso, I still think he'll wind up back with the Mets. And we'll see where Alex Bregman winds up going as well. So still lots to do for the Mets and Yankees during the holiday season. The Knicks are on a roll. What a win over the Spurs the other day on Christmas Day at Madison Square Garden. Victor Wembanyama had a big day, but also Mikal Bridges had a big day as well with 41 points. That was the second most points scored by a Knick on Christmas Day. The most points was in 1984. Bernard King scored 60. I was at the game with my friend Rob, who I ripped the other day on the show for walking out on the Jets when he moved to Baltimore. There's another story about Rob that I like to tell, and I will. We went to the game, and back then, the Knicks had $4 student tickets because they didn't sell out back then in '84. And so I'm like, let's just go to the box office and get the $4 tickets. And he's like, no, let's try to get tickets from somebody outside, get better seats. And there's this guy out in front of Madison Square Garden with a yellow jacket, yellow trench coat, yellow hat. He looks like Dick Tracy a little bit. And he says he's got 2 tickets downstairs for $20. And my friend Rob takes out a 20, hands the guy the 20. The guy hands him a Madison Square Garden ticket envelope that you would get at the box office window, and the guy walks away. Robert opens up the envelope, bits and pieces of little papers inside the envelope. No tickets.
Oh.
And I had not seen this happen. I saw it happen from a distance, and I went, oh, what's the matter? He goes, there's no tickets in the envelope. I just paid $20 for tickets. There's no tickets in there. I said, wait, you didn't see the tickets before you handed the guy $20? He goes, no. He calls a police officer over. They write out a report. They were looking for that guy because apparently he scammed other people as well. So we wound up going in and getting the $4 general admission blue seats, and they closed the blue seat. You remember back in the day before the Mets got good, they used to close the upper deck at Shea Stadium all the time?
Oh, yeah.
And if you bought a general admission ticket, you could move right down. This is what they did at the Garden. They closed you had a seat in the blue seats. They closed it, and we sat downstairs anyway. So that was my other story about my friend Robert. There's a Mark Gastineau story that I'll tell another time. I don't want to use all my material up all in one shot. So, again, I hope everybody had a great holiday and lots to look forward to, and super excited about the guests we have on the show today, Phil Simms and Carl Fischer from Billy Joel's band. I do want to talk about the significance of this date because it holds a special place in my heart. This date 25 years ago. The Jets on a Monday night, excuse me, on this date 25 years ago, the Jets on a Monday night are in Miami and they beat the Dolphins 38-31. Now that's 1999. And you're saying to yourself, well, Peter, the Jets, remember they started, 1-6 and they recovered. They wound up finishing 8-8. So what's the significance of a December Jet game when they were out of the playoff race? Aside from obviously it was a rivalry with the Dolphins, but why is this day so special? So for me, and listen, the Jets have had more crappy seasons than good seasons in my life, but that game in particular meant so much to me because 3 days before that game, on December 24th, Christmas Eve in 1999, my father passed away. And it was actually the night of December 23rd, I covered the Islanders-Rangers game at Nassau Coliseum. And the Islanders weren't very good at that point, too, but they did beat the Rangers that night 4-2. And then after that game at the Coliseum, a bunch of reporters and myself, we went across the parking lot to the Marriott, to Champions, to go, have some holiday fun over there, get something to eat, have a drink or two. I'm not really a drinker, but, glass of wine once in a while. And so I think it was after midnight, we had said goodbye to everybody, and I drove back home to my apartment. And so this has got to be 1:30 in the morning, somewhere strange like that. And I'm about to sit down. And at that point, I talk about wrestling now, but I was a huge wrestling fan at that point. And I'm about to pop in a VHS tape because I had taped SmackDown that night. And I wanted to watch the show. So I'm about to turn on my VCR, and my phone rings at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what's my phone ringing for? It was my Uncle Stevie on the other end of the phone, calling to tell me that my father had passed away. He had a massive heart attack. And he passed away. A short time later, my mom called, and we were making the arrangements and everything, and I was going to get down to Florida the next day. So obviously that was, obviously a real talk about your holiday spirit getting shot down right after the Islanders beat the Rangers, and I'm all set to watch wrestling, and I get a call that my father passed away. And he was 59 years old. Young man, 59 years old. So I go down to Florida, and we have the funeral and everything, and I just decided I was working for a healthcare company, and I asked my boss for the week off, and they said, no problem, whatever. They obviously understood the situation. I mean, my father had died. I had to go down, help my mom out with some things. And so we're down there in Florida. Now, I had thought about going down to Florida initially, because obviously with the Jets being in Miami, I had thought about it for a while. Then I said, I had too many things going on with work, and I decided not to come down. But now I wind up being down in South Florida anyway, a couple of days before the Jets-Dolphins game on that Monday night. And we have the funeral, and we have people over at my mom's house, and she said, what are you going to do tonight? And I said, I'm going to stay home here with you and want to watch the Jet game. She goes, why don't you just go to the game? And I said, no, I can't go to the game. My mother was practically begging me and saying, why don't you go to the game? Your dad would want you to go to the game. I don't know why you were coming down here to begin with to go to the Jet game. Because I used to go down all the time to see the Jet-Dolphin game. I said, no, I'm not. I'm staying home. Sat in my dad's chair, and I watched the Jet game. And for the first time in like 4 days since I had found out that my father had passed away, I had a smile on my face. Because Ray Lucas and the Jets went to Miami, and the Dolphins were in playoff contention, and the Jets played the role of spoiler that night. And I know my dad, even though my dad, I've joked about this on the show, was a huge Giants fan, may he rest in peace. My dad certainly helped out the Jets that night. And I was doing shows on other stations, and I remember having Ray Lucas on my show, who, remember, the Jets started that year with Vinny Testaverde as the quarterback. He ruptured his Achilles tendon on opening day, and then Bill Parcells, not realizing at all what he had in Ray Lucas, the former Rutgers quarterback. We had, Tom Tupa came in that opening day, who threw a couple touchdown passes. Then he went to Rick Meyer. So it was this whole mishmash of quarterbacks, and then Ray Lucas finally took over midway through the season, and the Jets go on a roll. And they win this game in Miami, 38-31, a couple of days after we bury my father, or the day after we bury my father. And again, I understandably down in the dumps over the passing of my dad, and I sit there and I'm watching the game. I have no regrets to this day of not going to the game, because I very much enjoyed sitting there at home and cheering on the Jets. And again, it put a smile on my face. And I had Ray Lucas on my show a couple of times, other shows I've done. And I always, every time I see him or talk to him, I thank him for what he did for me that night, because that really did put a smile on my face. Again, the Jets were not going anywhere. They wound up finishing the season 8-8. I mean, you think about it, after starting the season 1-6. And they were actually technically mathematically alive for the playoffs going into the last week of the season, and then things just didn't break their way. So they finished 8-8. But it is always great when the Jets beat the Dolphins. It's even better to me when they beat the Dolphins in Florida, because it shuts up all those yahoos down there in Miami, those fake, phony sports fans in South Florida. And the only reason that they fill their stadiums and arenas is because you have transplanted New Yorkers that go to the games. But I did that. I was looking at, and the only reason I was reminded, I knew about it, but I was reminded about this date this morning. If you're a Jets fan, you need to be following New York Jets history on X/Twitter. They do a wonderful job every day putting up clips and highlights of great moments in Jets history, and even not so great moments in Jets history. But I was reminded about this day 25 years ago today by New York Jets history on X/Twitter. So I just wanted to, get that out there, that this is, again, 25 years later. I obviously thought about it the other day on the anniversary that my father had passed away. It's obviously a tough time this time of year at times for my family and myself. And as much as the Jets have caused me agita and pain and sorrow, for that one night, a couple of days after my father had passed away, it was one of the few times in my life where the Jets really came through for me. And really, I thank Ray Lucas because he sparked that team near the end of the season and they got on a roll. So happy holidays to Ray Lucas and everybody on that Jets team, from head coach Bill Parcells down through all the players. Words cannot describe what that night meant to me watching that game on TV 25 years ago. We have to mix some things up here because of the guest schedule. Normally we do this near the end of the show. I'm going to do this now. The Sports Bash Media poll question of the day, presented by Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles in Rockville Center. We post a new poll question every weekday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. Today's question is, where will free agent third baseman Alex Bregman wind up signing with? And you have four choices: Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, or other. And I feel I have to do this disclaimer every single time I do a poll. If I put other, comment below. I need you to comment below. And I put the question up earlier today, and actually somebody did comment below. So somebody is paying attention to what I'm saying. So it's the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, or other. Comment below. That brings us to the Living Legends item of the week. It's this Derek Jeter signed Yankees jersey from Steiner Sports. It's matted and framed. So give my friend Warren a call, 516-826-4000. Get some more information. It's Living Legends in Rockville Center. We're going to step aside for a few minutes. When we come back on the show, on Sports Bash, I'm going to be joined by Carl Fischer, a member of Billy Joel's band, an outstanding trumpet player, has a great solo career going. He's going to be in New York a couple of days before the New Year's Eve show at UBS Arena, performing on his own at Lundy's in Brooklyn on Saturday night. So Carl Fischer from Billy Joel's band is going to join me when we come back with more Sports Bash right after this.
Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles is the best place to find autographed entertainment and sports memorabilia. We guarantee the authenticity of each and every item in our shop to provide you with quality collectibles anytime you browse our inventory. Our memorabilia includes autographed photos, sports equipment, jerseys, hats, and other paraphernalia from current athletes and legendary sports stars. If you prefer the entertainment industry, we have signed posters, albums, and photographs from classic movie stars and today's celebrities. To give back to our community, we participate in fundraising auctions for local charities. Call us today to request a specific autograph, find a special gift for someone else, or schedule an event. Living Legends Memorabilia and Collectibles.
Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by Ticketbash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. I'm Peter Schwartz. A little bit later on in the show, I'm going to be joined by legendary former Giants quarterback Phil Simms. He will join me in about 20 minutes or so. But right now, I want to talk about, other than sports, and people know me, my passion about sports, but I also have a passion about music, and specifically Billy Joel being my favorite artist of all time. And I'm very excited to be going with my family again for the second straight year on New Year's Eve at UBS Arena to see Billy Joel. We went last year as well. This will be my 21st Billy Joel concert on Tuesday, and I am very, very excited and privileged to be welcoming to the program a member of Billy Joel's band, great trumpet player. He's been with Billy since 2005. Carl Fischer joins me here on Sports Bash. Carl, it's Peter. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Peter. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Obviously very excited for the big show on Tuesday night. You guys performed at UBS Arena last year with Billy. What's the excitement level for you on being back at UBS on Tuesday night?
It's always nice to be back home. When I was a kid, I used to walk to the Belmont Park and see Bet on the Horses with my parents. My mom grew up literally a stone's throw, a block away. So it's always nice to be back in that area,
Yeah, you're from Baldwin and back home this weekend, and you're going to have a solo show at Lundy's Brothers in Brooklyn on Saturday night. And I remember going there back the first incarnation of that restaurant with my family back in the day, and the place has closed a couple of times, but now it's back open, and you're going to be performing there on Saturday night.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Peter. It's crazy because I did the same thing. Now I'm kind of a wimp. I have a shellfish allergy, but I remember like once a year we go to Lundy's Brothers back in the day in Sheepshead Bay, and you're talking about the Billy Joel connection. One of the owners is actually works for Billy. He's one of our great techs. Mm-hmm. So he's bringing Lundy's back, and it's kind of full circle. I'm finally glad to go back there and play some music.
So it's a 3-hour show from 8 to 11, a couple of different sets. And for people who aren't familiar with your solo work, you've done a lot of tremendous things. You've worked with a number of other artists aside from Billy, Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin, to name a couple. If people come to see you in person, what can they expect to hear from you in terms of a musical set list?
We do 2 sets from 8 to 11, and basically I've had many incarnations of a couple different bands, but this is a mix mosh. This is a band called Organic Groove, so it's a Hammond B3 soulful New Orleans funk jazz vibe, and it's just basically down home, good feeling music. Obviously instrumentalist, a couple vocals, but it's more like a trem, a Big Easy type of New Orleans fun second line vibe.
With Billy's band, you're featured a lot doing. We heard Zanzibar coming back from the break, and you're also, featured on Big Man on Mulberry Street. But from a solo perspective, I know you get a lot of acclaim for your rendition of "What a Wonderful World," and I'm just curious how much you enjoyed recording that and playing that in person.
Oh, thanks, man! You did your homework, Peter.
I sure did.
Yeah, man, look at you. How can you hold a trumpet and not play anything that's related to Pop's Louis Armstrong? And that's one of his, quintessential tunes. So it's my kind of demented, I call it, not, your range music. Well, I derange music. So it's my demented version of What a Wonderful World. So I tried to put a different spin on it, and we actually play that quite a bit. So we should probably be doing that.
Carl Fischer from Billy Joel's band is my guest here on Sports Bash. He'll be performing solo with his band at Lundy's Brothers in Brooklyn on Saturday night, and of course Billy Joel at UBS Arena on New Year's Eve. Carl, a few weeks ago on the show, and I'm taking a shot in the dark on this again. A couple of weeks ago on the show, we had Mike Del Giudice from Billy's band on the program, and I kind of surprised him a little bit. I didn't tell him I was going to be doing this, but I asked him if he had his guitar player next to him, and I asked him if he would perform a little bit of a song. So it worked out. He did it. He got his guitar out. So I'm gonna, sometimes you got to live dangerously. So I'm going to try to roll the dice again and ask you if you have your trumpet by you, if you wanted to play a little bit of maybe What a Wonderful World or whatever you would want to play.
Oh, I appreciate it, Peter. It's funny. Since I'm flying in the morning, my horn's actually getting a tune-up in the shop as we speak right now. Okay. And I'm on a satellite office. Also, if I was in my main place, I would jump on it, man. But I'm sorry.
No. Listen, I figured it would be a shot in the dark again. But we'll have you on again at some point. And I'll make sure you have the. We'll make sure you have the trumpet ready.
Getting a tune-up, man. You got to get a tune-up.
There you go.
The sports. Look at this. Sorry, buddy.
There you go, Big Blue. Well, I'm a big Jets fan. We're gonna have Phil Simms on the show in a little bit, so I'm sure you'd be excited about that. Since you brought up the Giants, you've played the national anthem at a Giants game, and you've also played for a Yankee spring training game. That had to be a huge thrill for you to play for those two teams.
Yeah, no, it's great. Actually, it's funny. I'm on it will be my 5th. I played I've played the Bronx the real stadium twice now, and spring training twice. And I got a couple things on the books for spring training and the full season with the Yankees. But I grew up being a Yankees fan and a Giants fan, and I never knew in my career. It's great playing with Billy Joel. I'm blessed and playing with my own bands. But man, you play one funeral and you play one sports game, and then all of a sudden people are like, "Wow, you're pretty good." So it's kind of a cool thing. It's actually, I have to say, being a Giants fan my whole life, playing even though we're not doing well,
Right.
But I tell you,
by the way, Carl, no sympathy for you Giant fans. I got my own problems as a Jet fan.
I understand you, buddy. I understand you.
But you're probably going to have the first pick in the draft, so I got to think you got to be excited about that, because I would imagine they'll take a quarterback or they'll trade down and get a whole bunch of picks.
Yeah, I mean, the world is our oyster right now, so sometimes it's good to be on bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that in front of 80,000 people. Now I know you've performed with Billy all over the world, but to be in a football stadium for your favorite football team and to do the Yankees also, I mean, just is it a different kind of adrenaline rush to be able to do something like that?
Peter, man, your questions are amazing. Yeah,
well, thank you. I've done this for a while.
You have, you should be professional at this.
Yeah.
You definitely got it together, guys.
Yeah.
You know what's amazing though is there's no hiding. When you're with a band, you can kind of duck and weave. Man, you miss a note or crack a note, and you're playing a cappella, because I usually do it all a cappella. It's just less is more sometimes, and you're really exposed. So that's the adrenaline there. Is kind of like, okay, let's go with this. And if you crack a note, you crack a note. Everybody's human, but I enjoy it, and I feel like it's kind of giving back. At the same token, I get to go to the game, so it's a beautiful thing.
No question about it. I have to, getting back to Billy, and Billy obviously made a lot of news this year with the ending of the Madison Square Garden residency after like a 10-year run. And I don't think anybody thought when that started it was going to go as long as it did. Mike Del Giudice has talked about it with us on the show before, that, hey, he kept selling out. He kept going and going and going. Even after the pandemic, Billy made up all the shows that were missed. What was that like for you as a performer in Billy's band, every month at Madison Square Garden, sellout after sellout?
Obviously it's the grandeur of the Garden. Being a New Yorker is a totally different mystique. It has a whole different vibe. But what I mean by mystique and vibe is, it's when I was a kid, that's where I went to go see. I'm a Rangers fan, so I go see the Rangers.
That's it. This interview's over. The interview's over now, Carl. You said you were a Rangers. No, I'm just kidding.
I am a Rangers fan. I grew up an Islanders fan. I got to tell you, man, when I went to Borelli's restaurant across from him, I went there, and when I was a kid, and I had a couple Islanders really were just not cool to me, and that's when I started going to the city. They were just I was trying to get an autograph as a young child, and man, their vibe was horrible. And I started going to the Garden. Yeah, and I started going to the Garden and checking out obviously the Rangers, and became a Rangers fan. So fast forward it to answer your question about the mystique of the Garden. I used to go see musical acts there and the circus and all this stuff. So that's its own entity as the center of the universe. But what's amazing with Billy Joel and his organization is it's his freaking living room. So every month we were back in his living room, and he treated it like a living room, and it became every usher we knew. I still go to Rangers games and hang out with the ushers. The policemen I know very well. They're friends of mine. I grew up with a few of them in Long Island. So, it's so I kind of miss being home, man. Every month I could see my friends and family at the Garden, which is our home. So it was amazing.
Yeah, no question. I think the excitement level, and I went to the show in August of 2019 with my family, so cool. We were part of that residency as well. I don't know if you heard the beginning. Tuesday will be my 21st show.
Oh, I did. That's amazing. Thank you, bro.
So
I love guys like you.
It started in '82 with the Nylon Curtain at Nassau Coliseum, the show that was on HBO, and through 21 shows now. So I'm all pumped up for Tuesday.
Awesome.
But I think for the band members, because every month now, listen, Billy's always going to play his marquee hits. There's no question about it. But I would imagine there was an excitement level every month of seeing what was he going to do differently? What songs was he going to pull out of the bag for a particular show? What was that like for you, waiting to see what the set list was going to be every night?
I got to tell you, man, in my 19 years of being with him, Billy is the ultimate jazz musician. And what I mean by that is he flies by the seat of his pants. We could have a set list 10 minutes before we go on stage, and he'll just throw something in there because he feels like playing it. And we'll all be looking at him a couple times, a lot of times, usually once every couple months. He'll start playing a tune we haven't played in 5, 10 years. And we'll go into it. And sometimes we mess it up and he'll say, hey, it's a rock and roll screw up. And that's just the essence of an improviser, of a jazz musician, you know? So and that's again how he brings everybody together, band wise and audience wise. It's a great communication between everybody.
While I love the hits, whether it's Piano Man or Only the Good Die Young, whatever it might be, I love the album cuts. I love when he brings out, a song that maybe you haven't heard him do in concert, whether it's, She's Right on Time. Nylon Curtain's my favorite Billy Joel album.
That's a great, She's Right on Time is my favorite, is our favorite Christmas tune.
Isn't it a great song? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, because but the bells, has the bells on. I always associate that with Christmas.
I love that song, but I like when he does Until the Night. Anything he pulls, any album track off of any of his albums, I really like it. Does the band get into it as much when he pulls out an album track?
Absolutely, because we're trying to all remember it, so it's kind of comical, and we're all not spring chickens, so we're all like, "Did I play that?" I think one of the reasons I'm still in the band is I usually would write cheat sheets for myself. I just had a habit of it, and so I would like write little harmonies. Okay, I'm playing this. Maybe Mark, who's been in the band 40 years, he's a quintessential great sax player and a singer, and Crystal plays alto and sings and plays soprano. So I'll write little cheat sheets of, this is what I played. I think Mark's over me and Crystal's under me, or vice versa. And so like we would all compare notes, and Mark would be like, I think I played this, and within 4 or 5 minutes, the whole band just like it's out here, and then all of a sudden, and it's all together, and it's the vibe of the band members and Billy together it's a family. It's crazy.
Yeah, that it's definitely a family, because you've mentioned it now, and Mike has mentioned it to me, and I remember talking to Mark Rivera about it, and he just he treats everybody like he's a part of his family, and I think that's what makes the music so special.
Yeah, the older we get, the more we realize, man, this is not a dress rehearsal. And so I think everybody's very fortunate when we get on that stage, including Billy. Billy, in my 19 years of being with him, he's better now than he's ever been, in my opinion. And he's having so much fun. Mm-hmm. We all are having fun. How can you not have fun? I get paid to play.
It's incredible. We're talking to Carl Fischer from Billy Joel's band. Billy is going to be at UBS Arena on Tuesday night for New Year's Eve. Carl will be doing a solo show at Lundy's Brothers in Brooklyn on Saturday night. How could people get information about that show before I forget to ask you about that?
I should have did my homework. So you can go on fishmusic.com, FISCHmusic.com. That's my website. I have a link on that. Or on Facebook, if you just pull up Lundy Brothers, one word, LUNDYS Brothers, that should come up. If not, go on the Lundy Brothers website. They have a great social media presence as well as I do. So it's all there. Or call Lundy's Brothers. They're taking reservations.
There you go. I have to ask you, growing up on Long Island, how did you get hooked on the trumpet? Was there an inspiration for you in becoming a trumpet player?
Yeah, there was many inspirations, but the biggest one for me was my father played trumpet. He drove a sanitation truck. He was a professional trumpet player, and then he had children, my brother being 10 years older than me and then myself. And so he got a job driving in West Hempstead for the sanitation District 6 and worked his tail off, and every weekend he'd get dressed up, and he goes, well, I work during the day and now I'm getting dressed up, I'm getting paid to play, is what I said before too. Mm-hmm. And go out and play on the weekends. And so like I always realized that, man, he's happy, he's whistling, he's getting dressed up, he's having a fun time going out and playing music. And my dad's sound was amazing. Mm-hmm. So I always had music around the house, and you know how you guys are Long Island guys. The music scene in Long Island and the tri-state area, I'd go into the city and hear music. So I was blessed with going to see great musicians, Count Basie Band, mm-hmm. Maynard Ferguson, all these things in Eisenhower Park in the summer series.
Oh yeah.
So I was exposed to being a Long Island guy. You see everything and hear everything. So I had no choice but to do it.
It's interesting, Carl, because watching my kids go through the chorus in school and seeing some of the other talented kids that are in our community. It seems like a silly question. I'll ask it anyway, but for yourself as a musician and growing up here on the island, How important is it for the schools all over Long Island to continue with these music programs? Because the next great musicians have to come from somewhere. And from your perspective, how important is it for these kids to get started in school?
It's a non-negotiable thing. Arts in the schools, whether it be music, art, drama. Without that, it's a proven thing. Left brain, right brain thinking on creative thinking, and whether you're going to be a jazz trumpet player or an actor or an artist, doesn't matter. It's opening up a whole section of your psyche and your brain. So I think if we lose that in schools, we lose a lot of our culture.
So we know the backstory to Mike Del Giudice. He was big shot, cover band. That's how he got noticed and wound up going in Billy's band. So I have to ask you, it's 19 years now with Billy. How did you get hooked up with him? Is there a backstory to how you joined his band?
It's funny. There's always a backstory. So the Cliff Notes version, because I know Mr. Phil Sims is coming on, which, by the way, my wife has a crush on. So, I'm going to be second fiddle. But, the backstory with Billy Joel is I'm coming on I'm on my 24th year playing his music. Me and Chuck Burgee, who's the drummer of Billy, we're both doing Moving Out on Broadway.
Okay.
So we were the musicians on that in 2001. And so I was a sub originally, and then I got the job as a full-time member. And Billy Joel's wonderful guitarist, who's another Long Islander, Tommy Burns, he's been responsible for probably half of the band being there. Tommy is just one of the special guys, and he was the music director for not only Billy but Moving Out. So became friendly with Tommy, and Tommy said point blank at a bar that we used to go to all the time after Moving Out, goes, "Hey, we're rehearsing with Billy in '05 in the winter. Our show's stopping. Would you be interested in coming down and maybe trying to play Zanzibar? And I know you know some other tunes. Just show up." I said, "Yeah." So I worked on Zanzibar, and long story short, I met Billy through Moving Out, and the backstory with that was he'd come out and hang out at Moving Out, and everybody would talk music with him. And I'm a Long Island guy. I like fishing. I'm a boater. I'm a captain. I was riding motorcycles all the time. So we would talk about that. And so he remembered that. So, we had a little kind of cool relationship because we had a lot of simpatico together, a lot of things. So long story short, Tommy said, "I'll call you." Like 3 weeks goes by. We're still doing Moving Out. He never got a call. He calls me at like 1 o'clock in the morning. He goes, "Tomorrow's your day, 9 o'clock, show up."
Wow.
By the way, we're doing Zanzibar in a different key. I had it all figured out and all memorized. I wanted to be slick. And I went in there, and I didn't have a good, that first pass I did, Billy got up from the piano. We played Zanzibar. He got up and walked out. I'm like, man, I'm fired. I mean, I'm not even going to get this gig. There's no, he comes back in and he says, "All right, let's do it again. We sound like grown-ups." And Mark is high-fiving me. Tommy's like, "Yeah." So that whole vibe was, wow, we're playing something he hasn't been able to play in his band for a long time, like a jazz tune. And grown-ups is, he associates jazz with grown-ups, which is a cool thing because he always was like this rocker. So it just, they kept on asking me back, and I'm like a disease. I don't go away. I'm one of those types of guys. So it's
like a good rash. You're all over the place.
I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
So, it worked out really well. I'm very blessed and fortunate to be there.
Give me like 2 or 3 of your highlights working with Billy over the years that stand out to you.
Always hits me right away is 2006. Was it the winter 2006? We went over to Italy. And I played trumpet and trombone when I first joined Billy, and then we had a situation where they wanted me to play tenor sax as well, play some parts, and I hadn't played tenor sax for 20 years. So I quickly learned how to play tenor sax. My whole vibe was not to take a tenor player's job. They put it to me. Billy basically put it to me and says, "You could be the utility guy. You can be the horn guy. You play all the horns." Yeah. So that first gig I did was in Italy in front of the Colosseum in Rome. And the street was close to 1 million people. And that's actually on Italian TV, RAAI, I believe.
I see that. You know what? MSG, Carl, has shown that. Plays like on nights when they do like a Billy Joel marathon, they play that concert.
That was amazing, that
Yeah.
whole thing, because I love Italian food. I'm half Italian, even though I'm not. Everybody
I'm
thinks
Jewish and I
Italian.
like Italian food.
All right, I'm Jewish. I mean, I'm German, Irish, Puerto Rican, and Czechoslovakian. I'm a mutt. I'm a mess. But everybody thinks I'm Italian. But so I go to Italy, and that was the first gig I did on saxophone too, and it was just a really special time. And then, of course, I have to say Shea Stadium, last play at Shea. We had 2 days of just absolute. I remember Garth Brooks had a Mets jersey on. Here we are at Shea Stadium with a Mets jersey. I'm a Yankees guy. I didn't have enough cojones. I had my Yankees cap in my road case, ready to pull it out. I didn't have enough cojones, so I guess I'm whatever. But Garth is pacing the floor before he goes out, and he did Shameless. He sang Shameless. And I didn't recognize him, to be honest with you. I was in my own zone. He didn't do a sound check with us, and he's pacing back and forth, and he knocked into my horn case and almost knocked my horns over into the case.
No.
And I'm like, some freaking guy with a Mets jersey is over here. I'm ready to scramble. I go, excuse me, sir. And he turns around and goes, sorry, Carl. He knew my name.
Wow.
So he did his homework with everybody in the band. He goes, I got to tell you, I am freaking nervous. I'm like, dude, you're Garth Brooks. You've played places. He goes, no, I guess this is Billy freaking Joel, man. And so that really made me think. I'm like, wow, Garth Brooks is nervous. But it was just amazing.
Yeah.
That was an amazing concert.
Yeah, listen, I don't think there's a Billy Joel concert I've ever been to that I can't come away from it saying that it wasn't magnificent. And and people will say, oh, well, he plays the same songs over and over and over again. But it's Billy Joel, man.
I say it's 80% of the same songs, and he still has his twists. You never know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And then I say 15 to 20% is just, let's do an album cut, or let's do something that's holiday related or city related. Now we're doing these outdoor stadiums, and like we try to play stuff geographically that's appropriate. So that's kind of fun.
Can you put in a request to Billy for me? I'd like to hear No Man's Land on Tuesday night.
All right. Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Yeah.
I might be in no man's land, but no, he's one of those guys. If he feels it, he'll do it.
Yeah.
You never know. You just never know.
But you have not seen the set list for Tuesday. Like, you won't see that
We
until...
won't. Even if I seen it now, it will change 10 times.
Yeah.
And it will change up until 5 minutes before we play. And then, like I said earlier, we'll get on stage, and Dill's audibles. He'll be like, no, I don't want to play that one. He'll say, you'll see he'll go like this, and that means go to the next tune. And everybody's scrambling because we have guitar changes and horn changes, and so it's set, but it's not.
It was actually pretty cool to see Billy come out with a new song this year.
That was pretty amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I remember hearing it, Turn the Lights Back On, the morning that it was, debuted on the radio, and I heard like the first 30 seconds of it, Carl, and I'm like, it is like classic Billy. Like, that was just a really cool Billy Joel song.
Yeah, it's got the odd meter kind of Piano Man, odd meter, 6/8 type of feel. The 3/4, it's actually a waltz in 3/4, and so that's quintessential to that whole movement of the tune. But not only did Billy do a good job, Freddie, the producer Wexler, my hats are off to him as well. It's just great to play some different material, and the band when we played it live, Billy was amazing. He had he's like, what do you guys think? What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? What works on a recording might not transcend when you're playing in an arena or auditorium. So we had to, we kicked the tempo up. There was a lot of things behind the scenes that were very interesting that we had to do. Mark and I added horn parts that weren't on the original recording to kind of push it forward. And Crystal, it was just really cool that Billy puts everybody in a position that's important. He gives everybody enough rope to hang themselves. And that's great. That's a great coach and leader. That's how I look at it.
I was going to end it there, Carl, but I got to ask one more because you mentioned her name, Crystal Taliaferro, who's been an amazing part of the band for such a long time. I think she joined Billy for Stormfront because I remember when that album came out. I think that's when she started. She's amazing.
She's a sweetheart. She's a force to be reckoned with. She's like no other. She's the heart of the band. Nothing gets past Crystal. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's
my sister.
And I look forward to hearing her on Tuesday. This was awesome. I can't thank you enough for joining me on the show. And obviously, best of luck going forward with Billy, but also with the solo career too. And let's give one more plug for Saturday night, 8 to 11 at Lundy's Brothers. You're going to be there performing. Tell everybody what they can expect to hear.
We're going to have some fun. It's going to be freewheeling, funky jazz, New Orleans second line. Food is ridiculously good. So your ears and your belly are going to be full. So bring it on. Let's have fun. And I can't wait to meet you and hang with you at UBS, man.
Awesome. Looking forward to that on Tuesday. Carl, thank you so much. Happy holidays to you and your family. See you on Tuesday.
Thank you, guys. Be well. Happy New Year.
You too. Thank you. Happy New Year to Carl Fischer and his family and everybody associated with the Billy Joel Band. Tuesday night at UBS Arena for New Year's Eve. Thanks to Carl Fischer, trumpet player for Billy Joel. When we come back, we are expected to hear from former Giants quarterback Phil Simms when Sports Bash rolls on right after this.
For over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer. You are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,500 families, raising over $43 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $6,700 each, and your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 76 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. Many thanks to Carl Fischer from Billy Joel's Band for joining us here on the program in the last segment. And it's going to be a great show tomorrow night at Lundy's Brothers in Brooklyn, 8 to 11. Go to the website and get information on making reservations to see Carl Fischer in concert solo with his band tomorrow night, and of course Tuesday night at UBS Arena with Billy Joel for New Year's Eve. That's going to be great. This segment of Sports Bash is presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookWhoMadeIt.com. Excuse me, let me correct myself there. www.lookWhoMadeIt.org. .com.org. I always have to make sure I get the last three letters of that correct, but it's definitely .org. Unfortunately, Phil Simms had to cancel today. There was something that came up, and we are rescheduling Phil for next week on the show. Hopefully on Thursday. We will not have a show on Tuesday. Governor's Comedy Club podcast will go through a holiday break here for a few days. We'll be back on Thursday, January 2nd, Thursday, January 2nd, for our next show, and we are hoping that Phil can make it on that. So we apologize. Phil apologizes profusely, but something came up, and unfortunately he won't be able to join us here on the program, so we will try to get Phil on the show. But still time on the show to take your phone calls at 516-465-3990, 516-465-3990. We can take your calls on the Jets and the Giants. I hate to sound like a broken record on the show because I've said this over and over and over again, at least about the Jets, but it's just been a horrible football season. Like, I can't remember a more depressing football season for the two teams combined. Now, there's been years where the Jets were good, the Giants weren't. There were years where the Giants were good and won Super Bowls, and that situation. But to have the season that we're having with both teams just so god-awful, and again, in typical Jets fashion, they're not bad enough because the Giants are going to have the first pick in the draft, and right now the Jets would pick 8th, but just a brutal season for both teams, and it's mercifully going to be over in a couple of weeks, so thankful for that. 516-465-3990, the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you're up next on Sports Bash.
Hello, Peter. How are you, sir?
What's up, Hershey? How are you, sir?
Yes, I like you can use my moniker Hersh from Valley Stream or Hershey from Hershey and the Keegs. I love that. Thank you.
Well, we might as well plug the show here.
Yes, you might as well. I have to throw you a bouquet of flowers here, and I'll tell you, it goes back to when I first started doing stand-up in 2010. The greatest advice I was ever given was by a comic named Joe Starr. Joe Starr, who was on Kevin James' TV show, and he's a nationally known comic. He told me that the most important thing that you can do when you write comedy is to use relativity. You want people to be able to nod their heads and say, hey, I understand that.
Yep.
While I was just listening to that spot you just had with Carl Fischer, the whole time your questions were bringing out answers from him that were really hitting the mark. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't mind, a couple of things that really struck chords with me.
Okay.
First and foremost, I'm a Billy Joel nut like you. It's very funny that we're both Jet fans, Islander fans, Yankee diehards, and also Billy Joel fanatics. I don't think I ever told you this, but my son Maxwell, who you know played football against your son, his middle name happens to be James because of the Turnstile song James. That's my favorite Billy Joel song. Yes.
And that's a when you talk about album cuts, that's a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the album that ends all albums. I listen to it to this day constantly. There's so many, but that song, James, which I'm sure you'll admit is not one of his most well-known. It's a little bit more of an obscure song.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful song, and when it came time to, Maxwell is named after my late father's father, Maxwell Hirschman, and we named Max that, and but James was kind of a slam dunk. So Maxwell James has a lot to thank because of Billy Joel there.
Yeah,
so,
he's awesome. I can't wait for Tuesday night.
Your interview with Carl was such a home run, and another thing that I was cracking up about is that when I first started dating my wife Stacy in 1994, I was barely 22 years old, and one of the things that we found on our first date was that both of us were trumpet players and when we were kids. Not just me, but her as well.
Uh-huh.
So I know who Carl Fischer is. I've heard of him for many years, and he is a terrific trumpet player, and you just killed it, man.
I didn't like the one uncomfortable thing in the interview that I did not like was when he said that a couple of Islander players were not nice to him, and he became a Ranger fan. And I'd love, I should have asked him who the players were that weren't nice to him.
Well, you know what? I think that you're going to ask him off camera because that's kind of what I was hoping it was going to go towards. I was afraid to hear that it was going to be someone who I was in love with as a kid, like a Gillies or a Gary Howitt or something like that. So hopefully it wasn't, but I'm sure you'll get to the bottom of that.
I'll have to. I mean, if I see him on Tuesday, I'll ask him in person.
Yeah, that kind of crushed me a little bit because I've had many of those Borelli's Islander meals as a kid, as I'm sure you may have too, and that stuck me in the craw a little bit. But we'll move forward. I have to tell you, the story you told about your dad was really beautiful, and I can tell you talk about your dad with the reverence that I do with my late dad, and I loved your story about you were sitting in your dad's chair. You said, I believe, watching the Jets that day.
Yep.
Well, going back to the day many years ago when my dad passed, it was a few days after I was booked to do a pretty big comedy show. And the day that my dad passed, I had said to myself, there's zero chance that I'm going to actually perform on this show. And yet the day came and I said, you know what? I think he would have liked that I performed, and I went forward. And to this day, in my 14-year comedy career, it is by far the best set. Like a power from up above came down and just took me over, and it was the best set I've ever had in my career.
Yeah.
So
these things have a way of working out in strange ways, and sometimes they're in pretty unique ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I love the Ray Lucas reference. I don't know if I ever told you the story, but maybe about 15 years ago, I was at a blackjack table with my two best friends in the Showboat in Atlantic City, and Ray Lucas plopped himself down next to us, and he played blackjack with us for maybe about 3 hours straight.
Wow!
And it was
he's a good dude. He really is a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude, and you're a good dude, and so is Tony, and I wish you both well, and thanks for putting me up, and it was a great show so far. The absence of Phil Simms took nothing away from this show, I promise you that.
Yeah, and we're gonna get Phil, and Mark, thank you so much for the call. We are gonna get Phil on. He apologizes profusely. I know while Mark was on, Glenn from Flushing was trying to call in. We hope Glenn can call back before the end of the show. But yeah, I mean, it's strange, the Jet Dolphin connection to my father and also my grandfather, because I remember when my grandfather passed away, the unveiling, and in Jewish religion you do unveiling like a year after the funeral. They scheduled it for a Sunday morning when I was already going to be in Florida going to the Jet Dolphin game with my brother, and we had to race right from the cemetery to the stadium and got there just in time and watched the Jets beat the Dolphins in overtime and make the playoffs in 1991. Let's go to Glenn in Flushing. Glenn, you're up next here on Sports Bash.
Hey, Pete, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Happy New Year.
Yes, same to you and yours. Happy New Year, happy Hanukkah, all that good stuff.
Yes, and thinking of you in this time of the 25th anniversary of your dad, and I know he must be looking down at you, smiling and very happy.
I'm sure he is. I remember my first job out of college. I worked at Sports Phone, and he would come home from work, and if like the neighbor was out on the street, he would take out his phone and dial Sports Phone. Hey, you have to listen to Peter. He's on Sports Phone now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so,
beautiful memory.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, since I am Glenn from Flushing, I have to talk about Pete Alonso. Oh, we need him back.
I think you're going to get him back. Glenn, I think you're going to get him back. I mean, I know there's a story out about that they're a little far apart in negotiations. I have no doubt in my mind he'll be a Met.
Oh, that would be beautiful. That would be a great New Year's present, because to have him in the lineup after Soto, I would think he was going to have a monster year. Now, it's so funny the way the money has worked from the beginning of this whole negotiation until now. It's like kind of back to square one. But we'll see what happens. 3 years, $90 million, of course, has been the latest.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to settle for a shorter deal. That's what I'm guessing, that the market's going to dictate a shorter deal, because you would have thought if he had a longer offer and the Mets are offering 3, he probably would have signed somewhere else by now. But I think this is all going to circle back, and all roads lead back to Flushing, and I think he'll be a Met.
Yeah, I don't know what team is left. I really have no idea who's left that's even in the ballpark. The Giants, I'm not sure. You know of any teams that are still showing interest?
I thought the Yankees were going to show interest until they got Paul Goldschmidt, so that takes them out. And obviously, Christian Walker going the Astros, takes him out there as well. I mean, the first base market is drying up, And I think he's really going to have no choice but to go back to the Mets. And for him, he's going to have to take a shorter deal. And you know what? Even on a 3-year deal, he'll have a chance to put up 3 more really good seasons and then go right back at it in free agency in 3 years from now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be interesting. 3 years. Hey, if we get for 3 years, that's fine because you never know if he's going to, show his age at the end of that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to tell you, congratulations on going to Billy Joel again. Tonight was tinkering with the idea of going to Bridgeport to see the Bridgeport Islanders, and I see they're not playing well either. But
no, they're not, but that is a great, great venue. I don't know if you've ever been there before, but it's a great place to see a hockey game. You get a chance to see some future Islanders.
Yeah, I just noticed they were in the bottom of the standings as well. So
yeah, they never seem to do well.
Going on Facebook.
They never can seem. Like a couple of years ago, they made the playoffs, but generally they don't win a lot of games. But it's always fun to see future Islanders. Glenn, thank you so much for calling in.
All right, all the best, Peter. Enjoy your concert and Happy New Year.
Awesome, same to you and yours, Glenn from Flushing. Let me tell you about some upcoming shows. So we're going to be returning on Thursday, January 2nd, because Tony's going to lock this place up after the show today. Nobody is allowed in, and the place is going to be closed for a few days. So Thursday, January 2nd, we are back. And now, boy, it was already an action-packed show, and now with Phil Simms having to reschedule, Phil Simms is expected to join us on the show on January 2nd. Associated Press hockey writer Alan Credo will join me. He's collaborated with Islanders legend Ken Morrow on the 4-time Stanley Cup champion and Olympic gold medalist memoir. The new book is called Miracle Gold, 4 Stanley Cups and a Lifetime of Islanders Hockey. The book comes out on February 18th from Triumph Books. That is on January 2nd. Also on that show, just booked this today, there's going to be a hockey game at UBS Arena on March 23rd, first time ever. 2 teams from Israel will be playing against each other in North America. The Jerusalem Capitals against HC Tel Aviv. We're going to be joined on the show by Capitals captain Isaac Levy, who's been on the Israeli national team for over 15 years. That's going to be on the show on Thursday, so we are looking forward to that. So a big guest list, Phil Simms, Alan Credo, and Isaac Levy on the show next Thursday. Now, Tuesday, January 7th, I am scheduled to be joined by former Islanders captain Brent Sutter. He'll be inducted into the Islanders Hall of Fame on January 18th when the Islanders take on the San Jose Sharks at UBS Arena. And we just booked this today. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago now, we had Amy McGorry from News 12 as the first FOP, Friends of Peter. We're going to do this from time to time where a friend of mine from the sports industry or news or entertainment will join me here for the full hour as my co-host. And I am excited to announce that on Thursday, January 9th, Sean Winters from Winters Bros here on Long Island and a member of the Jets Fans Hall of Fame is going to be joining me in studio for the whole hour. We'll talk about the Jets. We'll talk about Winters Bros, the impact they've had on Long Island, and also they do a wonderful thing, the Winters Brothers Center for Autism. They do a lot of work with that. So we'll talk to Sean about all the things going on with Winters Bros, and obviously by that point, the Jet season will be over, and we'll be able to have a little post-mortem on the Jet season. Maybe they'll have their new GM in place by that point. We'll see what happens with that. But Sean Winters will join me on the show on January 9th. That'll do it for this edition of Sports Bash, presented by Ticketbash.com. Thanks to my guest, Carl Fischer. Thanks to Tony Walker and everyone here at Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown who have made us feel right at home ever since we moved here. And I should also point out, with this being the last show of the year, how grateful we are to have been able to move Sports Bash here to Governors. And Sports Bash is presented by Ticketbash.com, the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, by Living Legends Memorabilia in Rockville Center, by Bearcat Building Service, the Marnie Lyons Foundation, and Collaborate Studios. I was thinking of a nice way to end this final Sports Bash of 2024. And, you know, for me, it's been an unbelievable year. For my wife, Charlotte, 20 years married this past August. Very nice. Was our 20th wedding anniversary. It's unbelievable how time flies. I love her so much, and she is the rock of our family. So that was something that we were able to celebrate in 2024. And of course, you know me, I'm transparent when it comes to my family. How great my 2 boys are. Cheryl and I are just so blessed to have two great kids like Bradley and Jared. Bradley in his first year of college at Western Connecticut, and Jared in his first year of high school at MacArthur. So we are so blessed to have the life that we do, and looking for bigger things. And we're going to ring in the new year the same way we rung in the new year last year with Billy Joel at UBS Arena. And that brings me to the end. For our entire crew, I'm Peter Schwartz, saying thank you for watching all year long. Sports Bash returns next Thursday, January 2nd at 1 p.m. Have a great weekend. Happy New Year, everyone. And I'm going to let Billy Joel have the final words. And before that, I just want to quote Billy Joel. And if you've been to his concerts, you know what he likes to do, especially on New Year's Eve. Happy New Year, everybody. Don't take any shit from anyone. Here are the final words from Billy Joel, because every year is a souvenir.
File away the photographs of your holiday, and your mementos will turn to dust. But that's the price you pay for every year. The souvenir that slowly fades.